Skol, Vikes! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Viking Spin. I'm your host, Jason, and we've got Ryan on today as a special guest. Ryan, are you with us?
I sure am, Jason. Thanks for having me.
All right. And we're going to go over the Vikings Redskins preview here. We got the Vikings coming in at 6-2. Washington coming into this game at 4-4. Here at the midway point in the season, and I'm going to go through the team rankings here and the injury reports, and we'll get your thoughts on that. Yeah, the Vikings are coming in here. The offensive rankings, I'm looking. Vikings are ranked 11 overall, and Washington ranked 14 overall in yards. Vikings ranked 14th in passing yards, Redskins 11th. Vikings are number 9 with running the football. Washington is 21st in rushing. And then both teams are pretty even in points scored per game. The Vikings are 13th in points per game and 14th for the Redskins.
So we're pretty well even matched with these guys, except for the running game.
Yeah, it looks like that. Washington relies heavily on their passing game to move them, so they're not quite as balanced. Although Kirk Cousins, definitely a really good quarterback, can kind of make some of that up for you. Yeah, without a doubt. Defensively, it's a much wider gap here. The Vikings come in 4th in total yards, whereas Washington is 18th. The Vikings are 7th in pass defense, Washington 16. The Vikings are 3rd in run defense, Washington 16. And the Vikings are 3rd in points allowed per game. Washington is 24th overall. Yeah, so there's a gap there in the defense, but
yeah, it sounds like it. And I was thinking about it this past week, discussing it with a good friend of both of ours, Eric Amundsen, and we were trying to think of actual marquee names on the Redskins defense, and I can name Ryan Kerrigan in their scheme. I think he's the right defensive end, and then you've got Josh Norman, of course, who's been playing pretty coy with the beat all year long.
right.
You see him quite a bit on all those commercials with him and Des Bryant and stuff. But then other than that, I can't think of any of their linebackers. I don't know who plays their defensive tackles, so this could be a game where our defense sets the tone. We've been handling passing quarterbacks very well. And it could be just one of the defenses going to be on the field too much.
Yeah, and that brings me to the injury report. For for the Vikings, it's not looking too bad. It's Remmers and Searles that are out, so that means Rashad Hill will get the start.
And Danny Isadora over at Cyril's spot, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, the Vikings will get Easton back. So then,
okay, I didn't know that.
yep, yeah, Isadora will be in the reserve role, and Everson Griffin is listed as questionable with a foot injury, but is expected to play according to Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, everything I saw out of Zimmer today, he ruled Everson playing, but Remmers and Cyril's not.
Right.
That's what I saw.
Yep, and the Redskins have a laundry list here. There's 2 that are out.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, it's pretty big. There's 2 out. Matt Ioannidis, that's one of their D tackles or defensive ends, since they're a 3-4, and then his backup Arthur Jones, so a little thin on the D line, and
That means it could be one of these games where if Jeff McKinnon isn't finding a little hole through the middle and squeaking up for a good 6-7 yards, it could be Latavius Murray just grinding it out and smack the heck out of the linebacker.
yeah, definitely. It looks like a game to play some smash mouth ball here. Then they have 10 other questionable players. The ones that are unlikely to play are the ones that didn't practice, and the ones that didn't practice this week, there's 3 of them. Left tackle Trent Williams, that's huge. He did not practice at all.
Wow.
Jordan Reed at tight end,
Okay.
and Niles Paul is the 3rd tight end, so it looks like Vernon Davis will get the start.
Okay.
And
He's definitely not what he once was.
no, still capable, but not, he's definitely not, in his early 20s anymore.
Right.
And then it's just a list of guys. The rest of them have practiced, so I expect them to play. But the disturbing thing for Washington is there's 4 starters. Actually, well, all 5 really, if you count Trent Williams, so he's out. But then the other 4 starters and a backup lineman are all on the injury report. So they were all limited this week. So they're not at 100%. That's all across the offensive line. So it appears that, yeah, so the swing tackle is out. That was another one that was. So I forgot that one. So that's 4 that are out. So that means TJ Clemmings is going to play.
Wow. Can you imagine what that's going to be like?
Yeah, TJ and Everson.
Man, that's going to be something.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be.
That's going to be something.
I would not want to be Kirk Cousins with that.
No, and have you seen any kind of report on how Clemmings has fared over there, or no?
The only thing I've seen is that he's 3rd on the tackle depth chart. So I don't know that he's gotten in. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Probably wetting his pants right now.
But so those are some positives there. That they do look banged up, because if they're healthy, then it's a different ball game, and it's like they came off a win, they're at home, maybe they're fired up, but they're on one leg right now, so
Yeah, very much so.
And that brings me to these matchups. Offensively, the Vikings, I'm looking at the corners. Of course, you got Josh Norman, who is very good, and the other corners they have, looks like they have a rookie in Kendall Fuller playing the nickel. He's got 3 interceptions this year, and then Rashawn Breeland is the number 2. I think
He's not too bad though. I feel like I've heard that name before.
yeah, he's a little more than just a guy, He's a decent player.
Right.
And the Vikings have all the receivers healthy this week, so Michael Floyd and Laquan Treadwell were full participants. Diggs is ready to go. Nothing going on with Thielen or Wright, so the top 5 guys are all healthy for the game.
Wow, that's great because I mean, especially like I said, I mean, I can't think of who their linebackers are really. I mean, well, then again, I think if they're in a 3-4, then Kerrigan's probably he's probably the jack in that lineup. But I mean, Kerrigan's known as a pass rusher.
Yep.
It's not like we can expect to see him on Kyle Rudolph or something. And if he is, then I think that's mismatch city, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. The other ones that they have are, I mean, these guys also, they appeared on the injury report too. The other 2 starting linebackers, Preston Smith and Zach Brown, those would probably be the guys that, I think Brown would probably be one of the inside backers that might take a tight end or linebacker or slot guy. So,
Sure.
So that's who they have over there.
Any idea how good their safeties are?
Well, it's D'Angelo Hall is one of the safeties, I believe. The former Falcons cornerback turned safety. Looks like he just came back last week. Had a nice break up there at the end to rob Russell Wilson and company there at the end. So, a veteran guy.
Right.
Yeah, veteran guy back there. So that's who they have. The guy up front that they have on the defensive line, Ziggy Hood, is a solid player. I don't think he's at Linval Joseph's level, but he's not no pushover. So these guys come in. They have some pieces. I just think that because they have the issues going on the defensive line where they have, they're going to have to play a third string defensive lineman in the starting lineup. I definitely think, like you said, you might see a heavy dose of McKinnon and Murray for this. Why not just grind it out with our offensive line against their D line?
Right. Yeah. And I would have to think the deep ball favors on our side with Diggs being able to get behind safeties and Wright being able to get behind safeties the way as they do it. Because D'Angelo Hall, even though he's been around, I mean he's long in the tooth, so
Right.
I can't imagine him keeping step on the deep ones. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel the same way, and also because Norman he does not follow receivers, so that's one thing. So if the Vikings want to get Diggs or Thielen isolated in the slot, Norman is not going to follow them into the slot, and he's not going to follow them across the field. He just plays that one side, and they try to just take away that side. So you see,
Interesting.
yeah, you see a mix of zone and man from them. And then I was watching what Pete Bursich had going on with his little scouting of the Redskins, and it looks like the way they rush and the way they try to defend the run as well is they do a lot of zone schemes. So they'll flow their defensive linemen one way. They try to push up the field in one direction. So that does kind of leave them vulnerable for screens. So I'm wondering if we might see some of that.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it worked pretty good against Russell Wilson, because he kind of likes to set back there and survey and sometimes scramble to either direction. But they were just bringing inside, some inside heat on him, and that disrupted him a little bit.
Okay.
But the Seahawks running backs have been just non-existent. Where I think Seattle Seattle was just trying to throw the ball down the field, long developing plays, a lot, and that just wasn't getting it done. I think the Vikings would be wise to mix in some of this, give a heavy dose of the run because Seattle has virtually no running game. I think Russell Wilson.
Right. They were hoping Thomas Rawls would heal up, and he hasn't. And then they were also hoping Cheeseburger Eddie was going to replace Marshawn Lynch, and that hasn't happened either.
No, I think Russell Wilson is the team's leading rusher, and he's not even running the ball a lot.
That's right.
So,
yes, that's correct. Yep.
So yeah, I mean, if you're playing that style, you're just going to chuck it, 40 times. That's not the way to beat Washington. So I think we're a little bit better built to do it.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think having Dalvin start off so well has kind of lit a fire under Jarek a little bit too, and he realizes he's got to work a little harder if he wants to have a career in this league, let alone a spot on the Vikings team.
Right.
And I think that's kind of why you're seeing a little bit more of production out of him. Not that he's lazy or anything, but just sometimes it just takes a certain thing to spark somebody, to inspire somebody to step up and step forth, and that's what I think Jared's been pretty well since Dalvin had blown his knee out.
Absolutely, he really sees the opportunity here. With he knew that he would be the guy the rest of the way, and he's definitely taken it and ran with it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good fun. I like that.
And you got, let's see, the the Vikings defense against the Redskins offense. We've got the Redskins. What they do with their backs is they kind of remind me of Detroit in
Okay.
with how they use Chris Thompson as kind of like Theo Riddick. He's the guy that catches the ball out of the backfield, and then they have their grinder is Rob Kelly, who's like a goal line type of back. It's not a fantastic running game. They're ranked 21st, but they Thompson is a guy that Cousins likes to use to check down. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be Anthony Barr's assignment.
Okay, I was going to say, yeah, it sounds like it's going to be one of these days where Kendricks and Barr are probably going to be the focal points of making sure the one thing they can do doesn't get done.
Right. Yeah, you figure, with especially with Clemmings starting at tackle, you're going to think that Cousins is going to want to get the ball out fast. So I would look for him to to be checking down quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then apparently Terrell Pryor hasn't been what they thought he would be, and he was actually benched last week for Ryan Grant, and so it was Josh Doxson and Ryan Grant were starting with Pryor only having limited reps, and then Crowder. I think they're getting Jamison Crowder. They might get him back this week. He's on the injury report, but he did practice, so we'll probably see him in the slot. And I gotta just basically, I mean it's up to Cousins. The way I look at it,
Right.
The offensive line's banged up. They don't have a great running game or a dominant receiver. Jordan Reed is out at tight end. He's a dynamic playmaker, and he's not in there. So it's really just going to be all on Kirk Cousins. I mean, he definitely has the ability to do it, but it's going to be awfully hard with so many injuries. And, it's not like last year. Yeah, plus, like last year they had, Pierre Garcon and Deshaun Jackson.
Right.
And, the Ryan Grant, Terrell Pryor, Crowder, Doxson combination here is just not quite what that was.
And Doxson's only in his second year, and he was hurt for the majority of last year too, so he's still trying to develop yet.
Yeah, he did make a nice catch last week as that one against Seattle that set the Redskins touchdown up, and but he's still kind of coming along in the league. With their
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's a go-to guy just yet, but he's probably going to have to do that in a hurry if they want to continue to contend in that East Division.
sure, and look at the special teams. They signed their kicker Nick Rose. He's played 3 games. They had to sign him mid-season, and
Okay.
yeah, I mean we know
Yeah,
it.
so like you said, it's going to be all cousins.
Yeah, but Rose is let's see, 4 or 5 in field goals so far. His long was 42. 6 of 7 on extra points. Um, and then in their return game, they have Crowder returning the punts and Thompson, the running back, is their kickoff returner. Um, Nothing is really popping out at me here looking at these numbers, but um,
You
you
know,
know,
you sit there as a fan and you think initially, being on the road, and Washington has been a little bit tough for us to play at.
right.
We've played the Redskins quite a bit because we've often had the same schedule, so it's usually lined up that way. And we've had some bad matchups against them, but in the case of this weekend's game, this is fortunate for us to have those guys have as many banged up players as they have, because I mean it's tough to get wins in this league, let alone get wins on the road. And this may be something that's kind of a little bit of a fortune in our favor. So we just have to hope that Zimmer and the staff has the guys ready to play. And I think anytime you're on the road, you have to start fast. You got to get some points on the board. And for the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if they can establish the run and use the screen game to kind of make Kerrigan think a little bit.
Get a rhythm going.
Yeah, they can get a rhythm going, and then Norman is one thing, but when you have Diggs and Thielen, one of them's going to come open. So unless you have 2 shutdown corners, which is rare. So and then
They definitely don't have that.
no. And I expect Rudolph to be in the mix as well. So I think if they can do that, and then basically just get after Kirk Cousins with this banged up offensive line, they should be good enough to win. And then, yeah, looking at this this schedule, we talked about it a little bit this week, and with games coming up, it's like I was saying, the last 3 I don't see as a problem. Chicago, the Brett Hundley led Packers, and the Bengals are not looking.
As you said that, did you put the air quotes up?
Yeah, the Brett Hundley. Oh boy, that's I really pity. Well, no, I actually don't pity the Packers, but if it was anybody else, I'd feel bad for them. But yeah, it's been ugly for Green Bay so far. And I've heard reports that Rodgers. Oh, it's possible that he comes back for the last 3 games, but I gotta think, if he only has a chance of coming back for the last 3, that means they got to do something in these next 5, and I haven't seen anything that tells me that they're going to.
Their record, they're 4-4 at the moment, right?
Right.
Can you realistically look at the Packers' schedule for the rest of the season and see 2 wins?
It's going to be hard to come by, the next 5 are guaranteed to be with Hundley. Maybe they get 1. That's.
I mean, do they play Chicago twice, or have they
They
played Chicago already?
they played him once. They're going to play him this week. So we'll see who wins that battle. But
I mean, as a Packer fan, this is probably the only week I can think of that you got a pretty good chance to win. And if you're really honest, Chicago's not playing good ball, but they're not playing
Yeah, I don't see it as a gimme. You know, they got and they have to play it in Soldier Field, so you know,
Oh yeah,
who
yeah,
knows? Can Mitch get hot? You know,
and that's just it. And I mean, just and to speak on them, they haven't let Trubisky throw more than 20 attempts per game.
right?
And I don't know if that's John Fox trying to hang on to his job or what, but I mean, if you're going to get a rookie in there that only played one full season as a starter in college ball, they got to take the cuffs off him and start letting him just flinging all over the place. I think the kid's got a pretty good arm, got a pretty live arm. And granted, we're talking about the Bears, so it's not like there's a whole lot of emotional invested interest here, but this would be a good game for them to do that and take some of the restrictions off him a little bit, because that Packers defense, well, there's one I'd like to use, but it's probably a little crude. But well, let's just say the Packers defense couldn't stop a snowball with a hot cup of water. So
This is the week.
I think if you're gonna try to get your rookie quarterback to get moving and see if he can carry an offense, this is the weekend to do it. And if you're the Packers, you got to figure this is probably your most winnable game out of the next 6-7 games.
Right. No, I agree 100%. This would definitely be the week for them to see if Trubisky can air it out a little bit. And then you got the rest of the schedule here for us. I like our chances at home against the Rams because we play great at home, it seems. And
Yes.
and then then it's the games in the middle are at Detroit on Thanksgiving. That's huge.
Yep. That's one that actually scares me a little bit.
Yeah, they've had our number there. And then at Atlanta and at Carolina. You were saying that you're not concerned about Atlanta.
Not really, no. How they're playing, they're not really playing that inspired ball they were playing a year ago. And even though they have a lot of options on offense, their defense isn't all that intimidating, really. If you really want to be honest, has Ari Poe really made a difference over there?
Not particularly, I guess. And then they have, and then also offensively, they did change offensive coordinators, and that's kind of
Yes.
had them lagging behind a little bit, and then you got Julio Jones banged up, so it'll
Right.
be
Yes, that's true too. Yep.
yeah.
And I mean, just our defensive backfield usually takes care of those marquee names. I mean, it's going to have to be on Marvin Jones and isn't Muhammad Sanu over there too?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, for Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's it's going to come down to those guys, I think, and then their running backs will probably give us more trouble than the receivers will, honestly. But
Right.
but I mean, you take our defensive line versus their offensive line, and I just see that as what's going to end up setting the tone over in that game.
Yeah, no, I agree, and we did beat them in 2015 and 2014, so we do sort of know, it's not like Rhodes hasn't seen Jones or Matt Ryan, so we have seen these guys.
Yes.
And and then Carolina, I think that's another one where we've kind of got their number. We beat them last year. Handedly in their own place. So.
Yep. And I think it's well within our means to be able to repeat that, because I've always said Cam Newton and Jay Cutler are these quarterbacks that are totally in their head. Like, if they think they're the best thing since sliced bread, they'll be all over the field. They'll be making all kinds of plays. But if you sack them once, intercept them once, or something, all of a sudden, just everything that can go wrong does go wrong with those guys. And Cam plays with his heart on his sleeve. I mean, he's a dynamic talent. A+ arm. The dude can run. He can take his hits.
Yep.
But in my honest opinion, I think he's one of the lesser mental tough quarterbacks in this league. And with our defensive line, and especially with Anthony Barr on those blitzes, and even Harrison Smith, Cam Newton doesn't really scare me.
Yeah, it seemed
Not-
like
not with our defense.
yeah. I mean, when we hit him a few times last year, and it looks like he sort of lost his confidence there in the second half. So,
Right.
but yeah,
I mean,
it's
how many games do you see him sitting on the bench by himself with either his towel draped around his head or just kind of with that, like the little kid that lost his squirt gun or something? You see that all the time with those guys.
yeah. well, yeah. I mean, I guess looking at it as a whole, like I'm thinking, you know, in taking into consideration that I'm under the assumption that we're going to stay relatively healthy the rest of the way, and you'll get a guy here or there, but I'm thinking that it could be anywhere from I'll take a stab and say anywhere from 11-5 to 13-3.
I see that as a realistic range as well. I would say if I had to pick two games that could be most likely losses for us, I would probably say Detroit and Atlanta, just because Atlanta's probably going to be the most talented team we face.
Right.
And then Detroit, because it's a division game, like you said, they've had our number in Detroit especially. It kind of going back to what you said about the Rams. I mean, yeah, it's important we're playing at home. Jared Goff is still developing as a quarterback,
Right.
and I don't think he's seen a front seven like ours just yet. Even though he's played against Seattle, keep in mind Seattle's defense is built from the back forward.
Right.
In other words, their defense predicates on the defensive backs kicking a lot of butt,
Right.
and their linebackers being really fast. Their defensive line isn't that great in Seattle, all things considered. It's good,
Right.
but it's not like ours.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. It doesn't have that speed.
It doesn't have the speed, right. And I mean, yeah, and I mean, just, there's few tackles in this league that are playing at the level that Linval Joseph is.
Right.
So that's something to keep in mind as well. Also, their defense has loads of talent, and Wade Phillips is coaching them very well. But this is actually the first year for that scheme, for that team. So that might, it's one of those things where even though they're playing good ball, you can still kind of see, if you watch them, Robert Quinn, it's really debatable if he fits into a 3-4 system, because that's what Wade Phillips runs and that's what they're running. And they've been mainly a 4-3 personnel for a long time.
Right.
So I don't think that defense, even though they've got a lot of talent, Wade Phillips is coaching them very well, I don't think they're fully engulfed into that system, which is going to take time, of course. I mean, it's the same thing when we switched from the cover 2, cold cereal defense that Leslie Frazier had to the more aggressive Mike Zimmer defense. You know what I mean? That first season things improved, but there was, it wasn't really until about the third of the way through that next season on Zimmer's defense that our defense really started picking it up and meshing.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying there, and other people are saying they haven't been tested, and you mentioned they played Seattle and they lost to Seattle.
Right.
They beat the Giants, but who hasn't beaten the Giants this year? Yeah,
the Giants.
Yeah.
All about that. Every year, because they have Odell Beckham Jr., they're supposed to be this just dynamic, amaze-ball team, and everybody should just bow to their will. And every year, especially since they got rid of Coughlin now, they keep falling flat on their faces. And and I normally like Eli Manning. I got friends that are Giants fans, but I get so tired of those East Coast teams just getting hyped up to no end. So I'm kind of enjoying the Giants being a big old joke. And by the way, before Ben McAdoo for this year, he actually looked like Ned Flanders from The Simpsons. So I don't know who thought this guy would be a great leader of men, but that Giants team is just collapsing, and it's not going to get any better for them. It's going to keep getting worse.
Yeah, there's speculation now with maybe Eli Manning will wind up in Jacksonville next year with
I've heard that too. Yes.
With Coughlin, but yeah, that's an absolute mess over there on what was once a decent football team. But
Yeah, yeah, and even when Coughlin was there, I mean, I have nothing but respect for Coughlin. I mean, you could almost look at him as almost a big brother to Mike Zimmer in a way because Coughlin was another Parcells guy.
right,
But I mean, Coughlin was very hot and cold over there. Granted, he has 2 Super Bowls against one of the best quarterbacks ever. But there was what at least 3 or 4 seasons that Coughlin was there that they not only made the playoffs, they might have finished under 500 while you had Glenn Manning. So that Giants team needs to just completely blow it all up and start all over again, in my opinion.
yeah, you definitely could be seeing that. And what are your now? Back to the Vikings here. We've got
Of course.
with the quarterbacks. Of course, we know this week that Bradford went to IR, but Mike Zimmer did not rule him out for coming back in the playoffs. So that's something to keep an eye on.
I think so too.
Yeah, so he's kind of got he's where he can return.
Right.
But for the rest of the regular season, because we know he'll miss 8 weeks, Case Keenum is getting the start. Teddy Bridgewater was activated, so he is on the 53. Sounds like he's going to dress as the backup this week. Slaughter is going to be inactive, but still on the 53 because it looks like they don't want to lose him. And
Right.
but yeah, Case Keenum will continue to get the start. And I guess looking at it like we've discussed, there are some similarities between Case and Teddy's game, but Teddy hasn't played. He's had 7 practices in 14 months, so
Yep.
I can't blame the Vikings for sticking with Keenum. It's working. He's winning, and he's if you have a game manager, you want the guy to be 100% healthy and in rhythm.
Especially coming back from the type of injury that he had, it was what was it, 18 months for him to recover fully.
Right.
And we're actually in month 15 right now. I mean, the quick reference that a lot of Vikings fans like to make is that AP came back way ahead of schedule, but you know what? Not everybody's AP.
Right.
And and I mean, I want to see Teddy back on the field just because he's worked his butt off. And, I mean, he's a good guy. He's a good locker room guy. But at the same time, you don't want to put him into a situation where he's just going to wind up hurting himself all over again. And a lot of people kind of forget that, kind of like what you're talking about with him not having played in so long.
Right.
There's a difference between being in good physical cardiovascular shape and being in game shape. And so it's going to come down to things like, is he going to be able to take those hits? Is he going to be able to run those rollouts, get quick? I mean, it's a whole other thing to be in good football game shape. And so that's another reason why I'm glad they're sticking with Case instead of just, Teddy's activated, here you go.
Right.
I mean, not even counting the principle of Case has been working his butt off and playing decent ball.
Right. No, I definitely I hear you. You're going along here, and he's winning games, and also with Bridgewater, you got to think mentally. He's got to be thinking about, okay, the first time I get hit with that knee, because he's still wearing the brace, and if I was him, just thinking from a personal standpoint, I'd want to get a lot of practice reps first, just to kind of mentally get over that. What's got to be in the back of his mind a little bit. So.
Yeah, they call that seeing ghosts.
Right. So, you want to do that on the practice field first before you just throw it into a game where somebody wants to take your head off.
Right. Yeah, the live game is not the place to try to get somebody over that.
Right. The ghosts.
I mean, it eventually has to happen, but yeah, give them some time, some reps, with the ones before you do that.
Right. And then talking about him, some things that I wanted to see from him were that we didn't really know when he got injured in 2016 in the preseason, but we were hoping that his delivery was changed because he had sort of a sidearm delivery in his first couple of years that I think was affecting his accuracy and
his velocity.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess maybe for the one game it looked like he was starting to correct it.
I thought so too. Yeah.
Going with the more overhand motion, but I guess that's something that they'll have to look at in practices.
Did you get a chance to see some of Teddy's footage of practice?
I didn't really look too much. I didn't want to put a lot of stock into it because I know that he was just like Zimmer said in an interview this past week that when his rehab he was thrown to non-receivers. So I didn't really want to get too into those videos, but
yeah. But just like from when he first got back onto the practice field and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless my eyes are deceiving me, I thought it looked like he kind of was going back to that under the helmet sidearm delivery.
Yeah, I hope not. Because
Same here, yeah.
But that's like we said that's something they'll have to evaluate. In practice and but it's at least good he's activated so that if you do have an injury, at least you have somebody that's been in the league for a couple of years. It's kind of seen some defensive looks. If you have to go to a backup.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans, and myself included, are a little more comfortable that if something does happen to Case, God forbid,
right.
Then at least it's Teddy and not rolling Slaughter out there right away because like you said, Slaughter's a rookie. At least Teddy's got a little bit of experience. Seeing those different NFL caliber defenses, so
right.
Something to bear in mind anyway.
Yeah, but all in all, to have, they could be in a situation where they have Bradford, Keenum, and Bridgewater active in the playoffs, and the Vikings. One of the themes this season has been depth, not only at quarterback, but at running back, of course. Losing Cook, people were so bummed about when we lost Cook. I don't think anyone really saw McKinnon stepping up to the level that he did, but thank God he did. And Murray is now starting to get back in the swing of things too. So
and Murray, and to be fair to Murray too, he was actually playing not at 100%. He was still trying to recover from that offseason ankle surgery.
Yeah, so I think he's just starting to hit his stride now, which is nice to do that the stretch run here.
Right, I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, it's been the depth. They had guys, that the holdovers from last year that were actually decent, like Berger, who's always played good. Hill, became the swing tackle. Searles became depth, drafting Isadora, and then of course loading up, drafting Elfline, signing Remmers and Reef. They made sure after what the debacle on the offensive line last year that Spielman was not going to get caught with his pants down. He loaded up big time.
He did, and not only did he load up, but he also loaded up with some talent. I mean, that Isadora went in there, and I mean, you never heard his name called, and in the world of offensive linemen, that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's it's been a key theme here for the Vikings. They've weathered the storm on these injuries, and here they are sitting at 6-2. And the Packers, they lose one player, and it just goes, the bottom just totally dropped out. So.
Yep. Aaron Rodgers, that shows you what a great quarterback can do because he masked a lot of deficiencies on that roster. I don't know if you watch Colin Cowherd's show at all on Fox Sports.
Sometimes, yeah.
But, and I don't agree with them all the time, but I agree with them quite a bit of the time. And he was telling, he had this segment where he was telling Aaron Rodgers not to be in a hurry to get back on the field with the Packers because the roster sucks, and it's true. And he was thinking that Rodgers ought to opt out and get himself on a better roster. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, actually.
I definitely could see that happening. He has been kind of vocal about how they've approached their off season, and he's trying to send signals to the front office, and it's just kind of fallen on deaf ears, I guess. And
well, and if you recall, with Brett's tenure at the end there with that same outfit, Ted Thompson's a big genius. Oh yeah, he's just this GM mastermind.
Right.
Brett was trying to get them to sign more free agents in the off season, and the year that Randy Moss was traded to New England, Brett was trying to get Ted Thompson and them to acquire Randy Moss from Oakland, and they wouldn't do it. They just keep thinking that they're gonna keep bringing in these young guys and they know how to develop talent and players, and they do.
Mm-hmm.
But just you got to find a way to augment. And I mean, clearly, I've said Ted Thompson's overrated. I mean, if it wasn't for the Aaron Rodgers pick, I think he would have been out a long time ago. And because he's certainly whiffed on his share of first rounders, and to be fair, so is Rick. But if you compare our roster to the Packers, it's night and day, man. It really is, and you're seeing that now.
oh yeah, it's especially when you're talking first round defensive players. Thompson has been swinging for the fences on these defensive linemen, and I mean it's just a laundry list of them that have just.
Dayton Jones,
yeah,
who couldn't even make our squad.
Yeah, Jones. Yeah.
B.J. Raji, who was okay for a few years, and he recently retired.
Yep. Yeah, Justin Harrell, I think, was another one. There's been a lot of them, and it just hasn't panned out.
Nick Perry, I think, he's a linebacker. I think he's finally starting to do well this year, but for a long time, I don't remember him amounting to Hill Beans.
Yeah, and they let Casey Hayward go at cornerback. That was their best cornerback. Clearly, he's playing well in San Diego, and they still have cornerback issues. So
they really do, and they even tried to convert a safety to cornerback. That's from last year's draft, and that usually doesn't work. It's usually the other way around.
Right.
And Clinton Diggs gets a lot of praise, but
mm-hmm.
if you watch play, he's actually afraid of contact. He's very good at the finesse plays, like breaking up passes and stuff.
Right.
But he's not useful at all on run. Like trying to tackle somebody and hurt somebody.
Right.
He's kind of a sissy boy.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that the Packers keep up what they're doing because it's clearly not working
Yes.
on the defensive side of the ball. But no, I guess that's all we got. But yeah, thanks Ryan for joining me.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's a blast.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to another edition of Vikings Spin, and we will see you on the post game. Take care.